So we have now been broadcasting on this one for 26 minutes and 38 seconds. So what the Guardian is doing, let's go back to this unit. And we shall come to the plea that the Guardian makes for loose change from readers, begging from readers. So there's a piece about heat wave in the heat wave of UK and Irish coasts posing serious threat. And there is an item in India heat wave. 96 people are dead, reportedly from heat aggravated conditions. There is a piece saying Boris Johnson, dozens of Tory MPs expected to abstain in Partygate report vote. And Cameron, the sleazeball, 3 minutes ago, and the time now is 11:48 GMT. So Cameron challenges expert advice given to COVID inquiry, saying health inequalities increased when he was Prime Minister. Here is the piece, Support the Guardian. Guardian has spent the past 13 years. Notice the assertion, which is a lie, tirelessly investigating. It hasn't been fucking tirelessly investigating the shortcomings of the Tories in office. Austerity is not a shortcoming, you fuckers. Brexit, Partygate, cronyism, the Truss debacle, and the individual failings of ministers who behave as if the rules don't apply to them. Well, The Guardian is publishing this lie because Catherine Weiner also ignores and shows contempt to the rules. And she says our work, that is the Guardian's work, has resulted in resignations, apologies, policy corrections. Our continued revelations about the conveyor belt of Tory dysfunction are the latest in a long line of important scoops. Now, today's piece by Amelia Gentleman herself shows that that is not the case, because they are reversing, the Home Office is reversing that, and the Guardian doesn't accept, even mention the reversals. And it says our editorial independence means we are free to expose the failings of those in power, and our journalism is always free from commercial and political influence. And because we believe everyone deserves access to truthful, trustworthy information, we choose to keep our reporting open and free for all. Support the Guardian from as little as £1. It only takes a minute. It only takes a minute. Thank you. And it says, remind me in July, and there are two images of Visa and the PayPal. Now, this is the Guardian claim. Okay. So, Let's check again on the. We'll be going to check for that quote. Catherine Weiner. There's too much publicity for Amelia Gentleman's book by The Guardian. And there is a piece, subsidiary book by Colin Grant. So, of course, The Guardian is edited by Catherine Weiner, and she allowed she allowed the Sikh Nick Cohen to fester in The Guardian and the Observer, despite knowing that he had sexually harassed women. According to Siegel, one of the women, on Twitter, the message said, "We know you feel very badly let down by Guardian GNM." What is Guardian and News Media, I think? And that you have not felt confident in speaking to the company in the past about what happened to you. Adding, "We would like to understand what happened and to understand any failings on the company's part." Now, Sikh Cohen has paraded, has pursued his career in the racist controlled Fleet Street as a sort of left of center, morally superior, investigative, selfless journalist. But that's a lie. When I wrote several replies to the Spectator website before Richard Morey published his ruling against Luthuraman in 2014, I think I wrote my pieces responding to Sikh Cohen's pieces about Tower Hamlets between 2013 and 2014. The Spectator, of course, and Sikh Cohen both chose to stay silent because I pointed out that whatever Sikh Cohen had written about Tower Hamlets was completely ill informed, and that Sikh Cohen had no idea about the depth of corruption that Luthur was mired in and had sunk to. So Catherine Weiner comes across as the Guardian's first woman editor. What the fuck does that mean if she is not against racism and against imperialism, colonialism, and for the truth in independent, objective, investigative truth? Her being a woman means nothing. In fact, it can be used as a cover to hide her own corruption and nepotism. So, what she wrote in the introduction for the book, or the particular edition of the book by Amelia Gentleman, included words to the effect, I'm looking for it, but I can't access it while I'm doing this broadcast, access it on the online, but I'll locate it, and subsequently, when I locate it, I will post an updated note on the Khoodeelaar Twitter account. She has said words to the effect that the people treated under the hostile environment by the UK government, UK Home Office, who have been, in effect, Catherine Weiner is saying, helped by Amelia Gentleman, owe debt of gratitude to MLA gentlemen. Now, how dare Catherine Weiner say that to these individuals, these people? This, of course, means that Catherine Weiner remains a festering racist to this day, to the time that she wrote that piece. And she starts with the quotation of an alleged grateful note to her sent by one of the diplomats, ambassadors, or high commissioners for one of the Caribbean islands. All of this is happening in the decade, in the years when Catherine Weiner effectively has been exposed as blocking the claims, representations by the former Guardian contributor or writer or staff member Vivek Chaudhary. Well, there is a detailed verbatim account continuing of the evidence that Cameron is giving or just has given to the COVID inquiry, COVID 19 investigation that is being reported as UK COVID inquiry live. And it says in the heading, David Cameron says pandemic planning did not focus enough on non flu threats. Former Tory Prime Minister says under his government, focus was on flu, but denies austerity policies affected NHS response. So, as I said, Weiner's preface is something that is currently not accessible among the items that I'm looking at. So, as I said, I'll update via the Twitter account, Khoodeelaar Twitter account, after I found it. I haven't found it now. Under Weiner's editorial, the Guardian, the Times, for example, has got one item talking about the Guardian has got tar wars. That was in April 2023, and the Times says that tar wars tearing the Guardian apart. So whatever the Guardian says to the readers has to be qualified by looking at the evidence. And should not be taken as it is. And according to the Times, the Guardian struggles with trans and slavery issues, and that has created deep divisions. And the reporter for that piece is Alex Faber. And there is this kind of pretentious coverage by the Guardian, of the cotton field. It has mentioned several people, including Julie Burchill, one of the most corrupt, ignorant, stupid, racist journalist and commentator. That is what I said in April. There was Suzanne Moore, former Guardian name person, Hadley Freeman. Hadley Freeman is the latest one that has created, let's say, a notice about the state of the Guardian. And I think that based on what she has been quoted as saying, our main indignation at the Guardian is that the Guardian is not following a pro Israeli editorial line. Now, that is not just about the Guardian's line on Israel. It is also about the point she made that Hadley Freeman is about the current controversy about the transgender issues. The transgender is, of course, to the bourgeois middle class white kind of professionals. Transgender issue is the equivalent of a sacred thing. The same is not the case with, with the white people in Britain, ordinary white people, mainly of the white people of low income sections. The majority of the people who are exercised by the transgender demand that men who become women should be should because of their decision to become women should be treated as biological women. And I think that this one I don't think is will go to a conclusion with the demand being accepted. How can that be? I said that in April 2023, and I'm saying it again in a contextually updated form on the 19th of June 2023, not because it is politically not acceptable or acceptable. The sheer physical reality of biology will prevail. That's what I say. It cannot be tampered with really, and the cultural offshoot of the demand based on that demand that males should choose to change the level of two females should be allowed to be treated as biological women, same as biological women. So this one is one of the strongest points that Hadley Freeman has on her side. That is to say, that she is on the side of the biological women, which is raging in the bourgeois kind of platforms. The other issue, of course, is slavery. And the Times, let's see what we are saying about the Times on the Guardian's role on slavery. And the Times running the story saying that the Guardian is tearing itself apart. Its focus on slavery and what is this thing about Korean trade? There must be a misspelling there. As anyone who has heard or listened to me or watched my broadcasts would know that I don't accept anything about the thesis that the British media or the British press is balanced. That's what I said in April 2023. I'll repeat that what I wrote there. I don't accept anything about a thesis that the British media or the British press is balanced, honest, objective, or truthful. I think that the entirety of the British media, including The Guardian, despite its current kind of state of confessions about slavery, the British press has always been racist, imperialistic, ignorant, corrupt, and it will not change because it is owned by crooks and criminals. And it does not represent, collectively or singular titles, the lives of ordinary people within the British Isles, not eyes, let alone lives of people from outside. In my understanding, and I have to say that I have been reading and examining the British media press for 7 decades. So Catherine Vanity is being typical. And in her piece today, Amelia Gentleman running this exclusive claim that the unit tasked with reforming Home Office after Windrush scandal is being disbanded. There is no reference to racism. There is the mention of racism. There is the mention of imperialism, empire, etc. And what is absolutely flagrant and brazen about the British press, especially about the Guardian, for example, is this: there is absolutely no reference to the law. And I'll come to that in a minute after making this adjustment. When I say law, I don't mean the general understanding about the law. I mean the actual specific role being played by the entirety of the legal structure, and starting from the formal schooling and the formal kind of training of the licensed law traders. Now, if I hadn't been actively studying, that is, investigating, examining the contents of constantly of the law for more than 60 years, I would not have been able to say any of these things, what I have been saying for the simultaneously for the same decades. Because the law is supposed to be the actual criteria, the standard with which, through which, by which policy is examined and policy, where necessary, is altered. There is no platform anywhere in the United Kingdom or from the United Kingdom or accessible internationally that I can think of that has actually combined the contributions, the knowledge of the law in the contributions in the actual comments and commentaries that I have created and produced. As I said, when I had the debate completely unplanned, the debate or challenge, live challenge with the late Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in the 1960s, held at the Institute of Engineers in Dhaka in Bangladesh, that was in East Pakistan at the time. I did in the knowledge that Bhutto had been employed temporarily before he was recruited as a minister by the military General Ayub Khan to Ayub Khan's cabinet, whatever it amounted to. That Bhutto had been a lecturer, a law lecturer, most possibly at the University of Southampton in England. Let's check whether I'm right on the history of Zulfikar Bhutto. Well, the University of Southampton I'm searching for. Let's see if Bhutto. What are they doing there? Observing Bhutto's 82nd birthday. Bhutto was born on the 5th of January 1928 in Larkana. I'll come to the reference to Southampton in a minute. He did his graduation from Berkeley University, California, in politics in 1950. He completed his degree in law in 1952 from Oxford, and in the same year, he passed barrister at law from Middle Temple, London. Now, whoever wrote this is, of course, not very well acquainted with English writing. The He didn't pass barrister at law from Middle that doesn't happen. There is no barrister at law exam at the Middle Temple or any other temple. They are called license, admitted. And then look at this boast, which is absolutely embarrassing. This sentence says Zeda Bhutto was the first Asian, notice this, first Asian who was appointed as a teacher, lecturer in Southampton University. Now, what is that supposed to mean? That short sentence is of superiority of the non-Asians or the English or the British and the inferiority of the Asians. That cannot be the case. But that's the reality of this particular piece. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? And Then let's see what this is the ridiculous. God, I mean, how incorrect these people are. He held portfolios of various departments. Well, he could not do that. He should. Anyway, he became the foreign minister in 1966. He made Pakistan People's Party in 1967 and got splendid majority from West Pakistan in 1970 general election. General Yahya Khan handed over the powers of the government to him in 1971. He remained the president of Pakistan from December 1971 to August 13, 1973. He took an oath of Prime Minister of Pakistan according to the new constitution of the country in August 1973. General Zia-ul Haq imposed martial law in the country on 5th of July 1977. And Zede Bhutto was given death sentence court orders on 4th of April 1977 in Rawalpindi jail. Bhutto is the founder of the nuclear program and he gave first unanimous constitution to the country. Bhutto was not only praised by his supporters, but his opponents were also impressed by his capabilities. Now, this is an entry on the website called samaenglish.tv. And this is dated whenever it is dated, the year is not mentioned. So, but anyway, we found the reference to Zulfikar Bhutto and Southampton University. They don't mention when. And there is a piece in the Press Gazette about the Guardian. We are going back to the Guardian. We say the Guardian is making changes to not fit for purpose complaints process. This is the piece that actually is about Observer publisher apologizes to women who made Nick Cohen complaints. And it says editor Catherine Viner and Chief Executive Officer Anna Bateson wrote to the women with an apology. This is a piece by Charlotte Tobit. Charlotte Tobit is described as the UK editor at the Press Gazette, having joined the site in February 2018. All right, so there is a big picture of the alcoholic Sick Cohen. So the main piece, the main paragraph is the Guardian's chief executive and editor-in-chief have apologized to several women who made complaints relating to the behavior of long-time Observer columnist Nick Cohen. The publisher has also pledged to improve its complaints handling process. The women included freelance journalist Lucy Siegel, who complained about Cohen's behavior towards her when she was in a junior position at Guardian GNM in around 2001. Her complaint was first publicly aired on Twitter. In October 2021, she said, "He groped me at the photocopier, 0 marks for originality, at work when I was an admin assistant in my early 20s. She told Press Gazette last year she felt a meeting with a senior Guardian news and media executive So the GNM is Guardian News and Media. That took place after she complained some 17 years later was designed to distract, to delay, push me off the scent, muscle me off, intimidate me. So that's the behavior of the Guardian establishment under Catherine Weiner. GNM Chief Executive Anna Bateson and Guardian Editor in Chief Catherine Weiner wrote to several women, including Siegel on Monday. Now, this piece is dated 1, so we can see this is the 13th of June, so last week. They said to Siegel, "We want to apologize for your experience of sexual harassment by an observer member of staff." They don't mention Sikh Cohen, but that's who they mean. And for the way your complaint was handled, according to the New York Times, which first reported on the apologies. Can you believe that? No British newspaper is publishing this. The New York Times. They also said everyone should feel safe at work and in the presence of their colleagues. And the incident you describe is absolutely unacceptable. According to Siegel on Twitter, the message also said, "We know you feel very badly let down by GNM, Guardian News Media, and that you have not felt confident in speaking to the company in the past about what happened to you," adding, "We would like to understand what happened and to understand any failings on the company's part." Other complaints have received. No, I'm reading that again because that word was wrongly read. Other complainants have received similarly worded apologies from GNM, which confirmed it has written to everyone who had aired complaints publicly or been in touch directly. So there is a subheading here: Guardian making changes to not fit for purpose complaints process. Siegel told Press Gazette last year the meeting with a senior GNM executive in 2018 was a really painful thing to go through, and an absolute car crash in which she felt gaslit. Now, this is the Guardian being run by Catherine Weiner. As a result, she told management she was not minded to pursue the complaint further, and no formal investigation took place at that time. Siegel said GNM's complaint culture is not fit for purpose. After receiving the apology, Siegel said on Twitter on Monday, "I'm hugely relieved to get this because, frankly, I was struggling with the whole thing, and acknowledgement makes a big difference." Press Gazette asked Cohen to comment on the news that GNM had apologized to the women who made allegations against him. He said, "I resigned on health grounds from the Observer last year." Now, Sikh Cohen is really morally sick because he's lying. Because after the staging of this alleged resignation from the Observer, he immediately started publishing on another platform, which we shall come to shortly. I'm afraid to say that in the early 2000s, I was an alcoholic. After 3 years of trying, I went clean in 2016. Well, that is a lot of years from early 2000s. isn't it? Today, I look back on my addicted life with deep shame and enormous regret. The New York Times and Good Law Project also first reported GNM is now making changes to its process for handling claims of sexual misconduct, including using independent external third parties to investigate complaints rather than senior managers internally. An old staff email subsequently shared with Press Gazette said, since last year, we have been working with Howlett Brown, a consultancy specialist specializing in independent investigations and workplace culture, who found that our systems and policies are strong. However, they recommended two changes to further improve our process, which we intend to implement. Number one, from now on, all allegations relating to sexual harassment will be investigated by independent external third parties rather than by GNM senior managers. And two, disciplinary hearings relating to potential gross misconduct arising from these allegations will also only be heard by independent external third parties. Quote, we believe these improvements will give everyone more confidence and have started discussions with the unions and have, that is, we have. In addition, we have now asked Howlett Brown to act as an independent point of contact until the end of September. That is, end of September this year, which is 2023, for anyone who wishes to report any specific issues, whether current or historic, or raise any concerns about GNM's policies or culture relating to sexual harassment. Timeline of Nick Cohen's reporting, and that goes to October 2021. Freelance journalist Lucy Siegel alleged in a Twitter thread that she was groped by Cohen in 2001 when she was a junior colleague at the Observer. 2000, July 2022, lawyer Jolyon Moon, KC of the Good Law Project, is the murderer who boasted of having murdered a fox, revealed in a Twitter thread that he had details of further complaints relating to Cohen, which he had raised with GNM. August 2022, Press Gazette was first to report that Cohen's weekly Observer column had been suspended pending the outcome of company investigation into him. A GNM spokesperson said at the time, Nick Cohen has agreed to step back from work for a period of time and cooperate with the company's ongoing investigation. We also highlighted concern, we meaning Press Gazette, about GNM's complaints handling process as set out by Siegel and Moon, who also spoke to several women involved. This story received little follow up, although Siegel wrote in more detail about her allegations against Cohen and concerns about GNM's process for the new European. The Telegraph published a story about Siegel complained unsuccessfully to press regulator IPSO about the way it appeared to link Cohen's suspension to a trans rights row. The Telegraph fucked up. January 2023, Press Gazette reported that Cohen had officially left the Observer, although he and the publisher said he resigned on health grounds rather than because of the outcome of any investigation. The Press Gazette report noted that Cohen's departure followed complaints from female colleagues but faced criticism for including tributes from some of Cohen's Observer colleagues and a comment from an unnamed staffer expressing sadness of the manner of his exit. Observer Press Gazette report noted that The Observer editor Paul Webster said, Nick Cohen has been a brilliant columnist whose incisive, emphatic writing has been a big part of the Observer for more than 20 years. On behalf of Observer colleagues, I'd like to thank him for his service and wish him all the best as he moves on to new opportunities. Now, obviously, Paul Webster is a fucking cunt, in denial, and is a racist, where Cohen is a racist as well. The New York Times in May 2023, that is last month, aired allegations against Cohen made by 7 women, including Siegel, in detail for the first time. And Private Eye editor Ian Hislop told the New York Times that Cohen, a former contributor to the magazine, had received a secret agreement and a big cash payment. Now, Cohen was writing the column Rat Biter in Private Eye, which is not mentioned in this piece I'm reading in the Press Gazette. The title also reported that Financial Times' special investigations team had looked into Cohen's story, but that it was spiked by Financial Times editor Rola Khalaf, because Cohen did not have a big enough business profile to warrant coverage in the newspaper. In the FT told the New York Times, some reporting leads to published stories and some not. Now, remember the opinion that we have about Rola Khalaf. Rola Khalaf originally was featured in the various versions of the Wikipedia entry on her as having been born a Muslim and raised a Muslim in Lebanon. But her entry has now dropped the references to Muslim. The Khalaf is, of course, a mental slave, and Khalaf is a liar. So, that is the short note that we add to this commentary about the Guardian and the Observer and the Sikh coin. An FT spokesperson later told the Press Gazette, we were extremely disappointed by the New York Times article, which was very unfair to the FT. Really? Fuck the FT. So that's that piece which we shall be updating on. Now, this is a broadcast that has been going on for 1 hour and 20 minutes so far. And this is the time. What time is it now? It's 12:40 GMT on Monday, the 19th of June 2023. So I think the Weiner piece that I'm looking for will have to be searched for another time. It's not being accessible yet. Now, this is the thing that I've been looking for, and I've just found it. Forward by Catherine Viner. Towards the end of April 2018, I received a letter from Guy Hewitt, the High Commissioner for Barbados to the United Kingdom. It was quite an exceptional letter, one which I shall never forget. I'll read that again. It was quite an exceptional letter, one which I will never forget. Never was so much owed by so many to so few, it began. This wartime quote by Winston Churchill is to me the most apt way of expressing the gratitude of the Caribbean High Commissioners, and the West Indian diaspora for the incredible work by Emily Gentleman. Fuck off! So I'll read that again, despite the fact that I think it's contemptibly stupid and racist and ignorant and idiotic. This wartime quote by Winston Churchill is to me the most apt way of expressing the gratitude of the Caribbean High Commissioners and the West Indian diaspora for the incredible work by Amelia Gentleman on the issues confronting elderly Caribbean born long term UK residents. In less than a week, a story that was far too long, begging for attention, became front page news, and the process won the hearts of the nation and engaged the mind of a government. I want to recognize the seminal work by Amelia in almost single handedly leading the charge. Now, wait for the next statement by this racist cunt. The Caribbean owes her an immeasurable debt of gratitude, and I commend her for an immense dedication to her craft and outstanding service to the people of the Caribbean. Fuck you! While we are not there yet, I am now optimistic that soon, in large part because of Amelia's work, those elderly West Indians who lived in fear will be able to embrace their loved ones. But a beautiful way of expressing the extraordinary impact of Amelia Gentleman's reporting in The Guardian. In October 2017, Amelia had started investigating why law abiding pension age people who had been born in Commonwealth countries but who had spent much of their childhoods and all their adult lives in Britain were being classified by the Home Office as illegal immigrants. Some were being detained and threatened with deportation. Others were being sacked from their jobs, losing their homes, and being denied NHS treatment. Most had no idea that they had been silently illegalized by changing legislation, and they were struggling to obtain the complicated documentation needed to prove they had been done nothing wrong. These were untold stories of institutional cruelty that shocked Guardian readers when they were published. The government paid no attention to them. It was clear that officials did not consider those affected to be people who mattered, or imagine that anyone would care about them. Ministers thought this was an issue they could safely ignore, and for months these stories were highlighted only in The Guardian. Until in April 2018, the government was finally forced into action. Inspired by Amelia's focused tenacity and backed by our readers' outrage, the Guardian's editorial team was determined to make sure this issue could no longer be overlooked. For 2 weeks, we put it on the front page of The Guardian every day, both in print and online, and made headlines around the world. We refused to allow the government to buy. I'll read that again. We refused to allow the government to bury the scandal that Amelia had exposed. The impact of this reporting has been extraordinary. In the years since the government was finally forced to acknowledge it had made a mini mistake and to promise to put things right, more than 7,000 people have called the Home Office hotline asking for help. Thousands of people have been granted citizenship or given paperwork confirming that they are living in this country legally. A spokesman scheme, I'll read that again, a compensation scheme has been announced which could end up paying out as much as 570 million pounds in damages to people who were wrongly deported, detained, made homeless, or pushed out of their jobs. No one knows how many people have been affected, but Home Office staff believe as many as 30,000 may apply under the scheme. Aspects of Theresa May's hostile environment have been suspended. The Home Secretary Amber Rudd resigned, and her successor Sajid Javid promised to make Britain's immigration system fairer and more compassionate. That's another lie. We are still waiting for comprehensive reform to happen, but the lives of many caught up in the Windrush scandal have unquestionably changed for the better. Some people have been allowed to return to the UK years after they were deported. Others have got their jobs back. People who have for years lived unsettled lives, terrified that immigration enforcement officers were going to arrive in the night and take them away, say they can now sleep easily. Before the Windrush revelations, the concept of the hostile environment was unfamiliar to most people. These stories reveal the toxic nature of an immigration policy that humiliates and exhausts applications. I'll read that again. These stories revealed the toxic nature of an immigration policy that humiliates and exhausts applicants into submission, routinely ruining lives to the Home Office, can help the government meet its quest to bring down net migration figures. And the scale of the outcry showed, I think, that British people are not quite as racist as the government took them to be. None of this would have happened without Amelia's reporting. The Home Office mostly responded with cynicism when these affected tried repeatedly to explain that a terrible mistake had been made. But Amelia listened to their stories, really listened, calmly and carefully, and empathetically. For many of those interviewed, talking publicly about their immigration difficulties was an act of real bravery. I'm so glad the outrage proved worthwhile. This was one of the most shameful episodes in recent British political history. The hostile environment which drove it has been revealed as a social catastrophe and a moral failure. This was a stunning example of the capacity of journalism to bring about dramatic, positive change. While Guardian readers were shocked by what they read, no one in government wanted to listen. But Amelia pressed ahead, defiantly publishing articles that revealed the depth of the scandal. The voices of those affected were finally heard, their stories finally told, and justice at last is in sight. Now, this is Catherine Vaina, Editor in Chief, Guardian News and Media, April 2019. So, this is the piece that I've been looking for all this time. So, this is 1 hour and 37 minutes, and we shall be continuing in the next editions. Ending this one at 12:57 hours GMT on Monday, the 19th of June